Hello, 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 hello. Happy Tuesday evening to you. I am your host with the most, Rich Live, and I have my co host with me, the one and only.
Lady L is with you this evening.
All right. Welcome to the Rich Live Show. Happy Tuesday evening. Hopefully, you guys are having a wonderful time. How you doing, Lady L?
I'm doing well, but I gotta confess, I got a little bit of a score to settle with you, just a little
Uh
bit.
oh. Uh oh.
Hey, your show Saturday. For those of you who don't know, Rich Live has a Saturday show where it's amazing, where he's like playing the message within the music, and it's awesome. And he also was he's talking about my laugh. So my laugh, but it just
Yeah. Hopefully, we get some of it.
oh,
Uh,
okay.
hopefully, we get some of it today. So, hey, if you guys are listening, now's a good time to hop in the chat room. Hop in the chat room. Say what's up to us. We will speak back. We promise. We're a very intimate show,
Yes.
and we are very engaging and want you guys to be in the chat room with us because that's how we know what your thoughts are. So please share that chat, share the link, and come on in, and we can have a great conversation. And
Yes.
that's right, and dialogue and that's right. Hopefully, Lady L laughs. When y'all hear that laugh one day, you're gonna see exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay. Laughter is therapeutic, that it helps you to release stress and it's helpful for your mind, which is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about decluttering the mind. That's our topic. So, which, that is something that, we all need to do because life can be stressful. Life can be lifing, like you always say, what Dr. Marcia says, so we got to go through the process of decluttering our mind. It's very beneficial. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we both probably can benefit from this conversation, right? Can you use some
Yes.
decluttering inside your mind? Inside.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I got
can
some
use some
advice.
declutter.
I got some good advice for you because you're very analytical, and those are
Y-
those are
Yes, I am.
most analytical people. If you're listening, you're analytical. Most analytical people have the most clutter, um, and we're gonna
I
dive into
admit.
that. Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about you a little bit, but in your face.
Oh, okay. That's the best way is to confront people in the face. So that's fine. I can take it. I'll take the medicine.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So this is going to be a beneficial conversation for both of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So I think everybody at some point has some level of clutter inside their mind, inside their brain, inside uh,
Yes.
their life, right? So we're not speaking physical clutter, but yes, we are. So it's a combination of both physical
Right.
and then also the mental clutter. Full disclaimer, I am not a mental health specialist. I am not a certified doctor. Dr. Marcia is a real physician. She's on next
Yeah.
after this show at 8 o'clock. I am not a clinician. I am not a therapist, but I am a coach and I am a mentor. And the information that I'm giving you is just strictly from the heart. I'm sharing my own real life experiences with you guys, and I'll let Lady L give her disclaimer um, before we
Yes.
go ahead and dive into this.
You're absolutely right. I'm a coach as well, spiritual mental health coach, and we just want to give you some, not only just for motivational moments, but we also want to able to give you some tools and resources to help you. Now, for those of you who have been diagnosed, clinically diagnosed, by all means, please follow the medical advice that you have from your provider. But for those who are still trying to find out, maybe we can give you some awareness so that you can take the next steps that's necessary for you. So yes, absolutely.
Okay, okay. So I'm going to reset. We're talking about decluttering the mind, decluttering your head, what's going on inside. But I'm going to take a second to greet everyone.
Yes.
How you doing, Ronnie? Thank you for holding it down in the chat, and also music in the DMV, Sheila, and we also have Silver Fox, Evelyn. How you doing, Veronica, Miss Freeman, that cat Dave, and of course my brother who speaks two, maybe three languages. ¿Cómo está, jefe? Jefe Grande. Thanks for joining. the organization. And by the way, this is Hispanic Heritage Month, and
Yes, it is.
this
Yeah.
Saturday, I'm going to be playing some salsa, some merengue, and some bachata, and all kind of Hispanic music just to celebrate our Hispanic brothers and sisters. Because that's right, we cover all bases right here on the MSC
Yes, we
network.
do.
Right. So without further ado, let's dive into this conversation. Uh, Give
Yeah.
them the topic of the conversation and let's dive directly into it.
Yes. Yes, yes. Let's dive into it. Decluttering the mind. So I know when you're probably thinking about that title, what do you mean? What are you talking about when you say decluttering the mind? So what is it to have a cluttered mind? You were talking about it, Rich, about that closet that is cluttered, you know. So take that analogy. And so what a cluttered mind looks like, it is basically a mind that is overloaded with thoughts, loss of concentration, difficulty focusing, and you're worrying or you're ruminating on several thoughts. Your mind is running. You may hear that. And then it may lead to anxiety that builds up, and then it goes into other physical things that could happen to you as well. But then, so we just talked about what a cluttered mind looks like. So, what does an uncluttered mind looks like? So that's the opposite. That's basically a peaceful mind or a mind that's not overloaded with thoughts. And so that your mind is not always running all the time with, leading to anxiety. So we're going to help you. We're going to talk about how you can declutter that overload of mind, the thoughts that you have, your mind always running all the time, leading to anxiety. And Rich is going to talk about that and how you can take those steps to declutter.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah. So what does a decluttered mind look like? Now that you described what a cluttered mind look like, a decluttered mind is clear, concise thinking, a calm mindset. The world is busy, but you have organized thoughts. You have organized plans, and it's not a whole lot of things that's running around. You're being decisive, you're being organized, and you're being strategic. And a decluttered mind doesn't have a whole lot of negative luggage. There's not a whole lot of baggage. There's not a whole lot of guilt, shame, and hurt that's being carried inside of your brain.
Yeah.
So, in order to declutter your mind, we have to rid ourselves of some of those things that we're holding on that doesn't serve us anymore. There's no purpose, there's no health in it. So, some things we have to let go to declutter our mind. What are your thoughts on that?
You're absolutely right. We have to go through that process of realizing that this thought pattern is not healthy, it's not productive. And you said it earlier about being analytical. I admit I'm very analytical. And so there's plus and there's pros and cons to that. And whenever it actually tips over to the con or a negative side, where it's exhibiting some things that's causing you to be cluttered or just be bogged down, where you're indecisive, you're not moving forward in your life, and there's other things that happen, worry, doubt, that spiral down, and it can lead to some depression and some things. So yes, you're absolutely right.
Right. So, what I'm, if I may, I want to give my example of what some of the things that Richard Adams, believe causes clutter in the brain. I call it the scrambled egg effect, right? So, what I believe
Yeah.
causes, this is just my opinion, cluttered thinking and a cluttered mind is indecision. 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 Why do you say indecision? I call it the two I effects, right? Indecision is one of them, right? That's one of the I's, right? And then second I is incomplete task, right? So indecision meaning that there are things that are lingering around in your mind. And the reason I say it affect analytical people most because analytical people tend to want to complete their assignments. And when assignments or things or tasks are not done, it lingers and the brain is still running. and you're being indecisive in your thought because your task is incomplete. So the next I is incompletion, is being incomplete. So they're kind of interrelated because when you're indecisive, which means if you're working or you're working on something or there's something that's lingering and you hadn't made a decision. What's the decision? The decision is that the clock struck 5 o'clock. The decision is to turn it off. The indecision
Right.
allows the brain to continue to work, right? So now you're dealing with the incomplete task because of indecision to relinquish the responsibility. So I believe
Yeah.
indecision, not just in assignments, but in life, that no that you didn't tell someone that's lingering, right? The deal that you didn't close, right? The the baggage you didn't put down because all these things require decisions. And when you are indecisive, that causes a level of anxiety, which causes
Yeah.
the thought process inside your brain to start to push it in different areas of your mind. So now it's scattered. So you have incomplete tasks, right? Because you have indecision. You have not made a decision to put that, whatever it is, away until you decide that it's necessary to pick it back up. What are your thoughts on those two I's, indecision and incomplete task?
You're absolutely right. And again, I will be the one on there talking about those who are analytical. It is the desire to complete something. And when something is not completed, you will ruminate or focus or worry about completing it. To give another example of the incomplete is like you said, whenever you wanted to say no to someone or there was a discussion or a disagreement and you felt like you did not assert yourself or show up in a way that you wanted to, and then you walk away from the situation and you're still ruminating on it and you're fighting ghost, is what I call. Fighting ghost is where you're actually still having that conversation with that last previous person, and unfortunately, the next person is going to kind of get a little bit of the residue of that discussion. And so, yes, you will fight ghosts, you will carry that conversation, and it's in the back of your mind ruminating. You're still doing life, but it's incomplete. So you're absolutely right. And the indecision, for those who are analytical or conscientious like myself, you know that you understand when what happens or the consequences of when you make a mistake. And so you don't want to suffer the negative consequences of making a mistake, which can lead to perfectionism or perfection being a perfectionist. Yes, I'm guilty. I see you, Rich, looking at me. So anyway, I know. But anyway, so whenever you feel like you don't want to suffer the consequences of your mistakes, you will actually ruminate, clutter your mind, and you will feel like I cannot make a mistake. I don't want to suffer the consequences. And then you will not make a decision because you're so conscientious of not making a mistake. You won't even move forward. You'll stay stagnant. So yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
so the reason I say indecision because indecision leads to lingering thoughts, right? Because you haven't closed that
Absolutely.
chapter, right? And then also the incomplete of something that's significant to you. All those things, they're like open cases. They're like open
Yes.
doors that are not shut. And there's air seeping through them. So, when you have different things that are unresolved or undealt with, and then you add past trauma, past
Yeah.
situations, they're still there, right? So things are still inside your head, things are still actively being processed, rather they're something that's at the forefront of your thinking or just embedded in the back of your mind. So you have to make room for all these different things that are going on in your head and you're all over the place, but you
Right.
kind of to want to keep pressing forward while all these things are still spinning in the background. So you have other responsibilities, you have other tasks that are ahead of you, And these things behind you, because you haven't completed them, because you haven't made decisions on what you're going to do with them, you're adding
Yeah.
compound circumstances to this. And this is what creates the scattered brain effect, which
Yeah.
means that you probably want to get it all taken care of. And sometimes you take on so much, and then so many things are left undone. So many ends are loose. There's so many loose ends, and then it causes anxiety. And most
Yeah.
often, anxiety is caused by things that we anticipate may happen as a result of not closing those deals, or not um, making decisions, or not purging those things. It causes anxiety futuristically, and there are
Yeah.
ways that we can mitigate that. But I want to put a pin in it right there and get your thoughts on it.
No, you're absolutely right. There's not much I could add to that. It is the fear. Well, actually, that's the root cause of most of this is the fear that you have of not completing something, or the fear of projecting forward, and that will cause them to be in a cycle where they're indecisive and they're not really moving forward. So you're absolutely right. There's not much I can add to that. That was perfect. Well said.
Yeah. So, just to move a little bit further, I think I call it the scatterbrain effect, which means that there's so many different pockets of things that you want to take care of. There's so many different areas that are left uncovered and open, and then you want to seal all these things. And because of lack of prioritizing what comes
Yeah.
first, we we tend to try to pick everything up, and then we're short, and then we're frustrated because the anxiety begins to cause us to want to see results. So I give you an example, and this may be applicable to some of the people that are out there listening. Have you ever had so many things to do? I'm gonna use your home for example, right? Most of us
Yeah.
clean our homes on a weekend, right? Because some of us have jobs and other tasks to do throughout the week, so we choose the weekend to do these things, right? So then you have the laundry, you have if you're cooking, you have food that's being thawed out, and then you have cleaning chores, and then you may need to have the car washed, like or get your hair done, your nails, like so. You have all these different things that you have to take care of, and what
Right.
happens is because they're all in the pending status, right? Your brain is processing everything that is pending. And what happens
Yeah.
is you cause somewhat of an organized, chaotic mess within your head. You're going to get it done, but because there's a lack of structure, because there's a lack of being strategic, it all
Yeah.
starts to run together. And if you throw in a couple of phone calls, a couple of distractions, you are definitely going to be off task. You're definitely
Yeah.
going to have a scattered mindset. And this is what causes us to be short. This is what causes us to be temperamental. This is what causes anxiety. This is what causes us to
Yeah.
give up and just quit sometimes because we're so overwhelmed. And there's ways to deal with
Yeah.
that.
Now, let me just ask a question here, because I'm pretty sure some people are thinking who are listening who that, okay, so what if you're great at multitasking and you're a multitasker and you just want to be able to just do those things? So would you say that they are actually being cluttered in their thoughts because they like to multitask? What would you say would be the defining thing as between the difference between those who are multitasking and those who are just they're just cluttered?
Well, I wouldn't consider a person that could be multitasking as having a scattered mindset. Because if you can
Okay.
successfully multitask, then that means that you're literally on task. And there's those things that are open are completely under your control because you're handling all of them at the same time, right? And nothing is getting away from you because you're able to be an octopus and handle all of those different situations without shutting down, without being frustrated, without having anxiety. So a multitasker that's successful at that, this scattered brain effect it doesn't apply to them because they're being successful at all their tasks at the same time. I'm speaking of those who are not able to have the complete functionality with all of these doors open, with all of these things unfinished, and it causes a
Okay.
short circuit. So a multitasker can handle it. That's not the person that's going to have the scattered brain because they know where everything is and they know how to get to it and they know
Right.
where they are in that process. But someone with a scattered brain, they may forget that they've opened several different tabs and forget to close them.
Yeah.
For example, someone that leaves a pot on the stove, someone that leaves water running, someone that leaves the hot curling iron plugged up, and you go to work and you're trying to figure out, did I unplug it? Did I unplug the iron? Those are the scatterbrain effects. A multitasker, before they leave the house, everything is unplugged, everything is turned off because they have a chronological sense of organization inside their brain. Did I explain that?
That's very well said. You're absolutely right. So let's move on to how do we declutter the mind? We talked about what it looks like. We talked about what causes it. So how do we declutter for those of us who identify with what's being described?
I would say there's probably two to three things. One is to be decisive on what it is that you need to do and prioritize the hierarchy of what needs to be done. What is most important? And then compartmentalize what it is that you need to do. So, someone that can multitask, I'm very good at multitasking, but
Okay.
I do that because I have compartments. I put everything into different compartments. So I know exactly where everything is. So in my work, in my line of work, what I do with productions, there's several pieces of moving parts that are happening at the same time. And I'm in control of every part because I'm compartmentalizing those responsibilities. I'm not blending them together. And see, multitasking is not necessarily blending. It's just, hey, this box over here needs this. It's kind of like Thanksgiving dinner, right? Or cooking
Mhm.
A Sunday dinner, right? Uh,
Right.
Grandma can have peas on the stove, and there can be ribs on the fire outside, and there can be cornbread in the oven, right? And then she can
Yeah, that
be
sounds good.
mixing a cake at the
Hmm.
same time, right?
Yeah.
So, but there are different stations for each thing that they're doing concurrently, right? And they're handling all
Hmm.
those tasks, and time is the key thing because
Right.
if you have time management, you know how long you have to do something. So the priority wouldn't be necessarily the cake mix; it would be the barbecue grill and the fire. So you have to be able to strategically understand what takes precedence, what's more important,
Right.
what could cause the most damage if I don't handle it in the orderly fashion that's required to be successful. But see, what happens is what causes that clutter thinking is sometimes we put
Hmm.
the minimum thing in front, and then the heavy lifting stuff doesn't take precedence. So now the anxiety comes because you did what you enjoyed or what's lighter first, right? And you didn't do the
Right.
priority thing first. So
Right.
I encourage folks to do what's difficult first, and then the other things become much more manageable, especially if
Mm.
you compartmentalize those particular things. You can go into to those different doors and manage them one at a time and still do several things at a time.
I got you. So, I just wanted to turn to the chat, and please, for those of you who are listening globally, please join us in the chat. There are some great things that are being said there, and I just want to acknowledge some of the things I'm seeing in the chat. There's some comments and some questions I see here. Daryl has a question. Thank you, Daryl. And he said, with all of these tasks, why not just make a list and follow up on the list? So, I mean, that's kind of a good question because you were talking about compartmentalizing, and I make a list. Actually, I make a list every day of everything that I need to do. And I know you're smiling at me because that's me being analytical. I make a list. But it's challenging, it's difficult. So I'll ask this question too, but I'll make a list of the things that I have to do today. And the list changes as I go throughout the day.
Right.
And then it just seems to be spiraling out of control. And there you go. There you have it. So, what would you say about that comment and question I have?
Well, Daryl's right on. He's right on point. Daryl, if it was that easy, let me tell you something. Daryl appears to be a very disciplined person, right? And that's what we didn't speak about. In order to make that list, in order to
Mm,
follow in chronological order the priority of the list, which is very easy to do, but it's very
yeah,
difficult to do if you're not disciplined. So, someone that's disciplined will make that list and be able to carry out the task on the list and not be distracted by the things that's added on the list. And then when you have
right.
to insert something that will change the chronological order of what's on the list, the discipline would allow you to stay the task in addition to. So what he's
Gotcha.
speaking from is a discipline standpoint, which it appears that he exercises a lot of discipline because it takes discipline to be able to keep things in order and compartmentalize those things. And I would say most analytical people are very great at analyzing, but may not be the best at being disciplined in the process. So you know exactly all the things that's required to do, but then the
Right.
discipline to do them in a chronological order, prioritizing what's hard first and
Yeah.
then going down, that is tough because if you start something, you typically want to finish. And those people are often the ones that run late because they don't want to stop because they want to cross the finish line. So then that creates anxiety. It creates tardiness.
Yeah.
It creates other issues, and then there's a chain reaction. So
Yeah.
where Daryl's point of view is perfect. If the
Hmm.
person doesn't have that level of discipline, it is going to be almost impossible to implement that simple task. But that is a very good point.
You're absolutely right. For those of you who are just tuning in, we're just want to reset the room for a moment, and we're talking about decluttering the mind. And Rich Live and I, Lady L, were talking about how we can do that. And so we were just talking about multitasking, making a list, and there were some comments and questions in the chat. And I just want to acknowledge some other comments that I see in the chat also. Um, thank you, everyone. Miss Freeman, she was sharing, she was there. Ronnie was actually talking about, under pressure, I'm very organized, but my thoughts be here and there, but everything is done. So hey, everybody does it differently. And then I see a comment here from Sharon who's saying, multitasking with priorities. Absolutely right, what you were talking about. Um, and so Daryl also, he was saying the list changes as things change. Absolutely right. So I think there's some people who can do multitasking and prioritize, and some people they cannot. But we're focusing on decluttering your mind, And so I wanted to allow you to continue about how we can declutter the mind.
Well, it's easy. If you think of it metaphorically as a closet, right? Your life is literally like a storage space, right? So as you grow,
Hmm.
you develop and you accumulate things, circumstances, situations, trauma, experiences, depth, relationships, children, like you
Yeah.
accumulate, right? So as you're accumulating all these different things, we find value in some of those things, so we hold on to them. And then the things that are not even valuable, like the hurt, the pain, the
Yeah.
shame, the guilt, for some reason, we keep those in the storage closet as well. So our heads are filled with a conglomerate of life.
Yeah.
That will be the trauma, everything that's in the basket of your life, good, bad, different, the loss, the disappointments, the great things, right? Things that you inherited. So you keep all those together, and then you wonder why you have a cluttered mind, because you have to purge frequently.
Right.
Get rid of what don't serve you. That pain does not serve you. That past and that someone that hurt you no longer serves you. That loss, turn that into a great memory, because the pain from that loss no longer serves you. It will be there, but
Mm.
find a way to declutter all of the things that don't serve you. And the reason why I'm starting here, because this
Yeah.
creates room in your
Mm-hmm.
head for innovation, for creativity, for motivation,
Right.
for the right kind of stimulation. So by purging and getting rid of all those things that are not serving you and that are in the way of the space that you need, when you start
Right.
doing that, then you ever try to clean up a room or closet that's packed? You got to take
Yeah.
some stuff out in order to organize it. And then you can put the stuff that you really need back in. But sometimes, in order to organize that closet, you can't go in there and organize it. You have to come out and pull things
Mm.
out and prioritize what's important to you and put them back in order where you can find them and you can reach them when you need them. And that organization creates an opportunity for you to be strategic. It relaxes you when you're looking for something. It's something as simple as a person, they put their keys on a key hook when they come in their home.
Yeah.
You know exactly where to grab that key. But if you have
Right.
a coffee table or a end table or bedroom dresser, whatever the case is, and you throw everything there, my bet to you is that 75% of the year you have misplaced your keys, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be strategic and you have to purge and get rid of the things that no longer serve you, that are in the way, covering up the things that you need to have access to. So that is part of the process. And then the other part of it
Mm.
is have organizing thoughts. Be decisive. Be decisive. What are you going to do with your day? Some of us wake up and just move, right?
Mm.
What are your
Mm-hmm.
intentions? Are there any affirmations in your day? What type of day are you determined to have? Could it change? Absolutely. But are you intentional and being
Right.
strategic on how you're planning the outcome of your day to be for you, right? These are ways, these are steps and methods that you can take that would help you organize your thought process. You can't deal with everything at the same time. And that's the reason I say compartmentalize. If you're going to get on the highway, your focus should be driving, period.
Mm.
Because you can't do what you need to do at work because you're not there yet. You can't do what you need to do wherever you need to be or wherever you would like to be. You cannot take care of it until you arrive. So the goal, the way I compartmentalize is I don't think about doing nothing but arriving.
Mm-hmm.
See, while you're
Yes.
driving worrying about all the things you have to do, I'm thinking about nothing. You know why? Because my stress level is so low because there's no anxiety, there's no self-induced problems that I'm embedding into my system in conjunction with the traffic, the lights being late and changing, the
Mm-hmm.
accidents, the holdup. So I'm creating my own anxieties. So that's why I say compartmentalize. What do we need to do first? Get in the vehicle, get there. And then once we get there, we already know what the goal is. And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Be intentional.
What you're basically describing is called mindfulness, and that's
Yes.
living in the moment.
Yes.
And so I encourage everyone to practice mindfulness. And just like Rich was saying, the benefits of mindfulness is that you are fully engaged in the moment. If you're driving, like you said, drive. And what helps you is that when that moment has passed, you're able to release and let go and then go on to the next task or the next moment. So mindfulness is what he's talking about. And that's something that you have to practice. Now, it's hard for some people to live in the moment. And I want to go back, if you don't mind, to something you said about letting go of something that no longer serves you. Now, there's some people who get stuck in the moment and they need to be able to release and let go. And that's because they've gotten comfortable with pain. They've gotten comfortable with that discomfort and somehow they ruminate on it and they get stuck there. So, what do you want to say to some of those individuals who are stuck in the moment and they don't want to let go of what is no longer serving them?
First, identify what no longer serves you. I would I would bet that most people have found a way to normalize pain. Most
Yes.
people have normalized dysfunction, right? So there's some people that are functioning in their dysfunction very successfully,
Yes.
right? Does it mean that it's okay? No. That means that somewhere inside your brain, there's some lack of something. There's something building up. There's
Yeah.
something that's not being taken care of. There's some self care that is missing. Just because you're
Yes.
functioning, it's just like an alcoholic or a substance abuser. Just because you can function, it does not mean it is not causing some other issue within your system, right?
That's right.
So when you identify that you are probably dysfunctional and you have normalized your dysfunction and you have normalized your pain, so
Yes.
it becomes harder to detach away from that because a lot of times you don't even recognize that you're functioning in a dysfunctional
Function.
situation,
Mhm.
right? So when you identify that, the key thing is to understand the fear. If you keep doing the same things, by no means should you ever expect a different result. So we
Right.
have to go back to the root of what's causing us to be dysfunctional once we embrace that we're dysfunctional. And then once we embrace that we're in pain and there's some dysfunction, how do we remove ourselves from that? And then most often,
Right.
something that is ahead of us that can make things better for us, we often fear because we rather deal with the dysfunction and the pain that we know than to go a place that we
Hmm.
don't know and it may not even be any
Right.
pain there, right? So, in short, what I would suggest people to do is to often do audit, do a self audit,
Yeah.
reflect on who you are, whose you are, what's your DNA, what's your makeup. Are you, there's a quote that I put on Facebook is if your life were a movie, would you be happy with the character that you're playing?
Mm.
And if the answer is no, then find the yes. And the yes is going to be in organization, intentionality, and purging the negative luggage, the things that don't serve you. This turns on innovation. This turns on motivation. This takes I can't and turn it into I can. I will, I must, right? And we can do this
Yes.
in that order, but you have to believe or at least accept the fact that I have normalized dysfunction, I have normalized pain, and I have
Right.
normalized this messy, junky closet,
Mhm.
and I want to keep everything. And if you ever watch the show Hoarders, you see exactly what I'm talking about. They want to hold on to things that don't serve them, but they want to have a healthier life, and it is almost possible impossible to do both. So be
Right.
intentional, be chronological, right? Make the decision to be that. Make the decision to purge. Be decisive on ridding yourself of the things that don't serve you, and it creates room. And then become organized, right? And compartmentalize. You get a flat tire, it's just a flat tire. Most women, you get a flat tire, the day is done. Life is no more good. This is the end. It's like it's to me, it's just a moment.
Wait a minute. You don't know. We just
Compartmentalize.
broke our heel and broke a nail with the flat tire.
And you know what? You can only take care of them one at a time. Fix the tire,
Gotcha.
fix the nail,
Got
wash your
it.
hands, get the dirt. You're
Right.
good to
Got
go.
it. But this is good. Let's talk about some of the challenges. I think it's important for us to address those challenges to what can cause us not to declutter the mind. And something that you said about knowing your peak performance, knowing your time of whenever you're productive. You were saying high frequency. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's important because that can be a challenge to you decluttering your mind. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, well, let me define. I have this thing, and I think I'm going to write a book about frequencies and understanding your frequencies. I think we all have high, medium, and low frequencies. And what do I mean by that is that there are times a day for each one of us that we are at our peak. And this is where we perform the best. This is where we're most innovative, our happiest, our most productive time of day. You have to determine what that is. For me, I've already determined that there's two times a day that I am very high functional. It's 7 a.m. to noon, and then I'm no more good between noon and 7 p.m. I'm sorry, I'm not that innovative. But then 7 p.m., this is when my show starts. I'm high,
Yeah.
I'm ready, I'm motivated, I'm intrigued, like that. I'm on fire, right? So I know my high frequency time. So I don't try to do anything that doesn't serve me. I don't try to become innovative and creative doing my low frequency time because I will produce low product because I'm low. It
Mm,
doesn't mean I'm not competent. It doesn't mean I'm not understanding. It doesn't mean that I can't function. It's just that it's not my high frequency. So I'm going to remember things best doing my high frequency. So, what does this mean?
right.
That I will not do or set up any task during my low frequency if I want high frequency results. So, the clutter in my mind and the clutter in your closet, the clutter in your life, don't clean it. Don't purge it during your low frequency because the low frequency will give you depression. It will give you
Yes.
anxiety. But for me, I turn my music on, I have my headphones on. I do what is required when I'm in my high frequency moments if it's at all possible.
Yes. That's good. That is good. So they just have to know what is their peak performance or their high frequency. What is that for you? You got to know yourself. You absolutely have to know who you are, and it's okay. So yours is from 7 a.m. to noon. Mine is going to be from 1 to 5, and it's okay. It's all right.
But you have to set yourself up. And that's the thing. If you have tasks, and try this because it's work. If you have
Mhm.
tasks and you're trying to declutter the way that you think, if you're trying to organize the way that you move, if you move when it's going to be more purposeful during your high frequency time, you're going to get the better results. So, most people will try to get up in the morning and work out and exercise, right? But what if you're not a
Yeah.
morning person? you're probably going to keep missing the gym. You're probably going to keep falling off because this is during your low frequency time. Your high frequency time is probably when you should work out. It's probably when you should do the things that you find the most difficult to complete because you're doing them in the middle of your low frequency. Try it.
Right.
I'm telling you, if you're cooking, if you're mentoring, if you have responsibilities, whatever it is that you need to do that you find the most difficult, do them at your peak. Do not do them at your lowest point because they will be
Yeah.
dreadful to do.
Yes. Very good. I want to take a moment to do a recap of what he just shared. And I'm just going to paraphrase what he was talking about of how to declutter your mind. And that is awareness. You got to be aware, know yourself, know your high frequency time frames. And then he talked about taking the time, being intentional. You got to make time to heal. You cannot heal what you hide. And then you have to release, let go of those things that are no longer serving you. Release it, let it go, be intentional with that. And then you were also talking about practicing mindfulness, living in the moment, taking it one moment at a time. Because when you do that, you can enjoy it, you're fully engaged. And when that time passes, you're able to let go and move on to the next thing. So that way it prevents you from adding on any more clutter in your mind or within your life. So I think everybody wants a clean closet. I think everybody wants to strive to have something more organized. So you have to uh, organize, be decisive, and purge. So that's what we're talking about for decluttering your mind. Is there anything else you want to share with that?
Yeah, I just want to go to the chat real quick, but I want to leave you with this. Just make sure that you compartmentalize. And what does that mean? It means put things in places where they belong and deal with them when it's time to deal with them, and then go to the
Mm-hmm.
next. Prioritize, right? And then also understand that you're in control of the decisions that you're making for yourself. Sometimes we self impose and we take on too much, and then we open too many things and we can't close them and it becomes overwhelming. So, some of the anxieties and some of the mental health issues, not all, but some of them are self induced. And I think if you understand who you are and how you're wired and when your high frequency times are, you can have better results. And I'm gonna go to the chat real quick, and here's an example real quick of prioritizing and understanding how to compartmentalize. One time, Ronnie was working here in Atlanta with me, and we were traveling south, and the northbound lane in Atlanta was gridlocked. There was no traffic. I mean, there was no moving of traffic. It was a parking lot, thousands of cars. She had so much anxiety. We're heading south, there's no traffic. She had so much anxiety about the northbound traffic. Just concerned. We're going to be stuck in that on the way back. We'll never make it home. We're going to be late. Da, 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 da. It goes on. And I looked at her and I said, hey, there's no traffic where we're going. We'll deal with that side when we're on that side. By the time we were
Mm-hmm.
done with the task and we got in the lane heading north, there was zero traffic. So the point that I was trying to make is all the anxiety that was built up with her concerned about something that she hadn't gotten around to, we compartmentalized and there was no more stress. When we got there, there was nothing to do. And then, so that's something to think about.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Betty. Good to see you. Thanks, Bridget, for saying that this is a great conversation. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Daryl says,
Yeah.
obviously, Daryl is a high frequency person. He said he's high functioning from 4:45 to 8:30 p.m. That's someone that knows themselves, right?
Yeah.
That's someone that knows himself. So Daryl knows from 4:30 in the morning to 8:30 p.m. He knows that is his levels. That's when he's going to be at his best.
Yeah.
Know when is your high functioning. Know when your high frequency is. And when you learn that, I promise you, you will not regret because you will begin to function at your best when you're at your best, and you will not be wasting time because the world will get the best of you at the best time in the best place.
Right. Right, absolutely. And I just want to add to that also, this is Suicide Prevention Month. And so for those of you who are listening, and this is some good information that you're sharing, and you just feel like, this is not working, hey, there's professional help that you can get out there. We encourage you to seek that professional help because we want you to have a better quality of life so that you are enjoying this life and staying in the moment and doing that because we want you to enjoy the benefits of a decluttered mind and living that because we understand that if you have a cluttered mind, then there's actual things that can happen to you physically. Dr. Marcia, who's coming up soon with Up Sits Up, she can talk about all the things as a doctor, what can happen to you when you have a cluttered mind. We want you to enjoy life and enjoy it to the fullest. And so if you are dealing with depression, anxiety, and it's actually escalating where you need to get some help, please by all means call 988, and this is just in appreciation for Suicide Prevention Month. So, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So, hey, listen, it's been a great conversation. We're gonna try to repost this, but just remember, remember, remember this, if nothing else, that you are more powerful than you think, that you're in more control than you
Right.
think. If you just would take an opportunity to tap inward, and learn how you function. Where are you functioning with low functionality, low frequency? And where's your high frequency? And try to give the most output during the highest functioning moments of your life. And it's not going to necessarily be conducive to your work schedule. It's not going to necessarily be
Yep.
conducive to your life schedule. But you can be so successful when you realize when it is necessary to corroborate, communicate, deploy, move, be innovative when you know that. If someone ever walked past you and act like they didn't want to speak and you thought they were mean and ugly, they're just not morning people. That's low frequency. And if you meet that person later on that afternoon, they may be a totally different person. Know who you
Yeah.
are. Know when you're at your best. Perform when you're at your best. Be around people during your high frequency. And this helps you keep the clutter out of your brain. Purge, 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 purge. Whatever does not serve you, from clothes to casualty,
Yes.
declutter. You don't need all that stuff. I've never been to a morgue or a funeral home where there was a Ryder truck, right? A Penske truck or a
Mm.
U-Haul truck. So all the stuff that doesn't serve you, relinquish it, let it go. You cannot clean a closet that's packed to the rim. You have to pull stuff out to make room to put stuff in. So my advice to you is the best way to get rid of the clutter is to start by purging and then being decisive on what needs to happen next in chronological order. Compartmentalize and then enjoy your life because guess what? A lot of those anxieties, pain, hurt, and everything that we're facing, we can eradicate some of that. We're just organizing and decluttering our mind.
Right. Excellent.
So on that
Love it.
note, yes, yes, yes. Listen, this has been a great conversation. What do you think, Lady O?
Oh, this has been an awesome conversation. I hope that the some life-changing nuggets that some people are receiving to help them. It's needed.
All right, all
Definitely
right.
needed.
Yes, yes. So this has been a Rich Live show. This is a Rich Live production with the one and only Lady L from Charlotte dropping nuggets. And we're gonna have a great conversation next Tuesday. But this Saturday, we're gonna pay
Yes.
tribute to Hispanic Heritage Month with some Latin music, and let your friends know. Invite them, invite them, invite them. We're a diverse community here, and we're gonna have a good time each and every Saturday. Make sure you're sharing the link. Make sure you're supporting. Thanks to our sponsors, you too can be a sponsor, and make sure you stay connected. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed. On that note, we're gonna say, I'm gonna let you say it. Right? Go ahead. We love
We're gonna
you.
say that there's love, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I love it. I love it. All right, until the next time. See y'all. We love you. All right.
Bye bye.